All right. Thank you, Tara. So, as we put together the never-ending world of hidden gems and aging, we've always looked for different topics, and we've had lately a pretty good mix in that we've had some pretty good technical innovations, with lights that let you know when you've fallen, or other people know when you've fallen. We've had dogs that are mechanical and keep you company to fend off loneliness. And today we're just, as we were putting this together, we're just looking for something a little bit more fun, more upbeat, and all roads led me to Amy Temperley, who runs Aging is Cool. And so I'm happy to have Amy join us today. And most importantly is that, again, as Tara said, just this is informal. Feel free to ask questions along the way. Feel free to share experiences, whatever you want to do, because again, that's the format of this whole program in the series for hidden gems and aging. So, Amy, welcome to the NAIPC and to Hidden Gems and Aging. We're glad you joined us.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
So you told me when we put this together that all I have to do is ask you one question, and then the hour is over. So,
Pretty much.
Yeah. So
I can roll with it. I can roll with it.
I know. And so let's just start before we get into how you got into this. But what's your background? And I understand your husband's in the business as well. And as you pointed out earlier, that even people think that even the title "Aging in Places" or "Aging is Cool" is a bit offbeat in an area that we talk about a lot of serious things, especially with home care. How did you put the two of them together, and how did you get into this, and what brought you to Kyle, Texas, of all places?
Well, that's just because Austin got too crowded. It's you get pushed out to the suburbs for cheaper housing.
Yep.
So my husband and my background, I've worked with older adults for the past 35 years, mostly in the nonprofit sector. So I worked for home health agencies. I worked at the Alzheimer's Association. I ran a Medicaid in-home care personal attendant service program nonprofit for a number of years. My husband is a fitness instructor, and he had been working with older adults at a senior center, and he just kept talking about, where's the better programming? He was teaching fitness, but he got really interested in brain health and different kinds of engagement, and was feeling a lot of pushback from the place that he was working. And oddly enough, my first job out of college was an activity director in a nursing home. And when we started talking about it, what we saw is that activities for older adults, recreational and wellness activities, looked essentially the same as they had for the past 30 years. Lots of bingo, lots of coloring books, lots of turning on some music and singing along to it, but not the kind of stuff that we thought we would want as we got older. We know that people are living longer, that they want different things, that we stay engaged a lot longer, we stay active a lot longer. And so we started putting together what we thought people would want and what we wanted as we got older. And so Aging is Cool started as actually a membership program. It was sort of a remote senior center where we rented some space and older adults paid a monthly fee, and we had a full range of fitness, learning, brain games, social activities for them to attend. It has evolved. We've been around 8 years now, based out of the Austin area. We've since expanded. But now our primary two parts of our company is, one is we go into senior living communities. We have over 100 classes that we offer, multiple instructors. We go in, we supplement activity programs, assist activity directors. But recently we relaunched our in-home programming as well. So now we can provide one-on-one in-home activities, like fitness, like the brain games. We can do arts and crafts. We can do dementia programming one-on-one in homes with people who may not be able to leave, maybe caregivers that need some support. And so we can do that as well. So we're all things active aging. We've tried to be pretty well-rounded in the way that we do it.
Do you feel like you have a competitor?
No. No. And it's been very interesting, and it's been a real challenge for us. When we first started in the market, there wasn't a competitor at all. Now we see spatterings. You see some companies that just do fitness. There's great companies like Elder Grow that do just gardening programming. And this is in the senior living space. But in so bits and pieces of it, but in terms of being able to offer this sort of full spectrum of courses that we do, we have over 100 classes right now. So it's just and growing. We create probably 3 new programs a month. So no, it's been very interesting and certainly not in our area. We know in other parts of the country there's probably things we don't know about, but
Right.
certainly where we are, it seems like we don't. It seems like we don't.
In 10 years, what will your model be? I mean, could you see yourself where you franchise this out?
Yes, we have talked about franchising. We last year we expanded to with one of our senior living partners who has multiple buildings across the country. We've become a regular partner for them, and each time they build a building, they invite us to go and start with them. So last year we started in Las Vegas. That's done very well. That's been a growing market. We started in Phoenix in October, and we'll be starting in Florida in June. So at the moment, we're trying to look at what it looks like to manage it ourselves and do the expansion the where we are. What's interesting about us is we actually manage remotely. I have maybe marketing people or instructors in each of those cities, but the scheduling and the back end management happens right here in my house in this room where I am. And so we're still exploring that model. Franchising is an option. It's just really, really expensive to get started. And so we've kind of, we went away during the pandemic. I mean, as many people did. I mean, we provide face-to-face activities. That's what we did. And everything was gone. And so we weren't even sure we were coming back. Thrilled that when it did come back, that so many people were really understanding social isolation, the need for engagement, what that face-to-face means. Plus, we also had learned how to do virtual programming. So we still do virtual programming online for free. Um, and yeah, so I think it remains to be seen. It's an evolving industry, right? There's so much that's happening in the space. So we'll see where we end up.
So, what's your ideal client? Am I in a nursing home? Am I home? Am I active? Am I in recovery? I assume it's all those things, but somewhere you have an ideal client that can benefit the most from what you do. What's your target?
We have been very successful in 55 plus senior living communities in the last couple of years. So people who are already active and engaged and want to maintain that. We also assisted living and memory care is a pretty good niche for us. As you can imagine, activity directors are very stressed. They don't have time to create programming and get really innovative about it. We can do that for them. We hand them a catalog of all our classes and they can go, I want that one, and we can be there in a week and ready to go. With in-home care, I think it's going to be someone who, well, I think there's going to be two things. There's going to be people who are probably finishing up physical therapy and wanting to continue to stay active and engaged and fit and try and maintain what they've learned, because that tends to go away. I don't know if any of you've had physical therapy, but once you're done with therapy and you feel better, you tend to not do your therapy anymore. We can go in and do fitness and yoga stretching and help with that kind of thing, along with the brain games and all the other things. But then also that memory care piece, because so often if you're a caregiver with an individual with dementia at home, it's not easy to get out and it's not easy to get a break. And so we can come in, you can go in the other room, take a bath, do what you need to do, and we can engage your loved one in something that's going to be cognitively stimulating, going to have, reminiscence involved, going to dwell on, who they were or who they are, but also who they were in the past so that we can reminisce and try and, kind of keep them calm and engaged and give that caregiver a break.
So there's a lot to this. One would be, here in my town and just about every town around me, there's a senior center, and I would have to think that you've been in front of a number of them because a lot of them are short staffed, a lot of them have budget restrictions. I would think that you have been in a number of them to where you can solve a lot of problems for senior centers in towns that, have financial issues.
Definitely, definitely. And we think so also in senior living communities, if you can't afford that second activity director, we can be that person for you. We can come in and provide those additional activities. Or, I mean, if you know anything about senior living, turnover rates and activity professionals is really high. It seems like about every 6 months we're getting somebody new. There's a lot of burnout in it. In the interim, we can come in and actually, fill those pieces in as well. So we think there's a lot of pieces. Budget's always a piece of the puzzle, right? Someone just mentioned cost. If we go into senior living, we charge $110 a class. There's a discount if they book more than 4 classes a month. For in-home, we'll be doing $100 a class. A class is an hour long. So those are the kinds of costs. You talk about senior living and some other organizations that maybe don't have budgets for it. I came out, and so did my husband, out of the nonprofit sector. So we're a for-profit company, but we always wanted to give back regardless of people's ability to pay. So we set up a nonprofit fund from the very beginning. We do grant writing, we get sponsorships. This year we'll provide probably close to 500 free classes in the community, and that's everything from senior livings, nonprofits, affordable housing for people with HIV and AIDS. Those are some of our partnerships that we have at the moment. And then we also do 5 free classes a week online virtually. So any of you can access those for your own clients. If you go to agingiscool.com, button at the top says free classes, and you'll see all our classes that we offer each week on Zoom. And those are completely free because we wanted to be sure that we didn't leave anybody out.
How do you assess the skills or level of your clients to make sure that one class fits all?
um, It's more about our instructors, to be quite honest. It's about what our instructors are able to do in a space. First of all our fitness instructors and yoga and aqua and Zumba and dance and all those things, they're all certified. They've all been through all of that. What's different about us is when we hire people, we are looking for people that have experience or special training in working with individuals with disabilities. Any of our fitness instructors, our lifelong learning people, our arts and crafts staff can adapt a program to multiple skill sets in the room at the same time. So they can teach Zumba seated and standing all in one class. The good news is most of our classes, probably, especially senior living, probably range from about 7 to 15. So they're not massive. So it's easy to keep an eye on people and be able to kind of pay attention. But it's really, really important to us that everybody can feel included in a space all at the same time. So that's kind of how we do it.
And one of the things that comes up often, and we've had guests on this on Hidden Gems where they have had teams of people that go in and help just activities of daily living with clients, and we've had home care people, and we know that there's a huge hiring. Not it's not the process; it's just finding capable people, and more importantly, safe people that that you feel comfortable and you have no limited liability of them going into the home. How difficult is that for you versus those of us on the call who look for medical assistance? Same
We
same process that you used to do, or is it?
Yes, yeah. I mean, here's the beauty. I know your pain because I ran an in-home care organization and we always were shorthanded for staff. We, from the beginning, made sure we were going to pay really, really, really well. So my instructors make really, really good money for an hour's time. $40 an hour, most of them. So they're making really, really good money. We don't have trouble recruiting at all. It's very, very interesting. I put an ad out yesterday for Aquafit instructors, as well as some lifelong learning instructors. I ran 24 hours of ads on Indeed, and I have probably 20 qualified applicants. What's really nice is I know they're qualified because they've got certifications behind them. My fitness people, I can generally go find videos online where I can actually see them in action. Most of my instructors, this is one of the things that we love best about who we are. 50% of my staff are over 50. My oldest fitness instructor is 78 years old. I have a belly dance instructor that's 76. We have the most incredible, reliable, passionate, dedicated team because most of them want to work. They're supplementing Social Security or they're doing it for fun and purpose. And so we get this whole different ball game. They also understand their audience way better than anybody else. So even on that I've, the times I've hired really young, fresh fitness instructors thinking I'm hire for their energy and that's a good thing. I actually do better when I hire fitness instructors who are in their 60s who know what it's like to have a sore knee. It's just a better fit overall. So it's kind of interesting how we've balanced out with them.
Might be better to have a belly dancer in their 60s too.
Oh, totally. She is one of the most famous belly dancers here in Austin, and man, she can still shake it. It's pretty
Uh,
impressive.
I'm glad I live near Dallas. So a lot of times we've had folks on who are looking to embed what their services into Medicare Advantage products, just almost on pennies on the dollar to do that. But but obviously you're hitting a very large target audience. Have you looked into that as well?
That just came up recently. I very much am interested in that, just haven't quite figured out which route to go yet. I've talked to a couple of companies that do some programming in that space. I know that some of the fitness work is a possibility. I'm going to be very curious to see how the lifelong learning, the crafts, we see other countries that are social prescribing right now.
Right,
And so prescribing that kind of stuff. And I'll be very interested to see if we get to that space, because sometimes what people need more than anything is just to connect with someone on a deeper level.
right.
Um, and that's, part of what we do is we build engagement into everything we do. It's never just about fitness. It's about who you meet in the room and what relationships you develop. Same with our lifelong learning, all our classes.
So in really what you've done, and you can address this, is two of the big things that we talk about, and just about anybody else who in the Asian community talks about, are two things. One is falling,
Yes.
and then the second thing is loneliness.
Yes.
And we on this program in particular, we talk about that a lot. Can you address how do you get people involved to where you help them solve both of those problems?
I can more give you sort of some anecdotes. When we started out with our membership model, we started out with 70 members. And I find this really fascinating, actually. We were looking at the data the other day. So it was 70 members that went to our classes on a regular basis, fitness, brain games, and then we would do a social activity every month. And they got to be really, really close. They would go out to lunch together after the fitness class. They go and have coffee. Then before we knew it, they were starting book clubs within those groups. We had our first social, or maybe second social, since the pandemic, about a week ago, with 30 people show up just out of the woodwork. Like, we had no idea. I thought maybe there'd be 30 people. They developed these deep relationships through fitness classes because they were there for the same reasons. They were experiencing similar life things. They had similar goals. We made sure that, when you walked into a room in one of our fitness classes, one of the first things that particularly my husband is really good at is say hi to your neighbor, meet somebody, go and talk to somebody. You remember in church when they'd say, shake the hand of the person next to you, or meet somebody
Sure.
new. We do that. And what happened is we have developed these lifelong relationships and friendships, and they visit each other in the hospital. They go do things together. They take care of each other. They send cards when there's a crisis. The other very interesting thing, when we look at those original 70 members, most are involved still in some way with us, or at least some other active measures. We've had very, very few falls, and only 2 people have died in 8 years,
Hmm.
out of 70 people that are 70 to 90. Our oldest member is 98 years old. And one was cancer and one was some sort of, aneurysm, right? Something that couldn't possibly be managed by probably what we were doing.
Sure.
So it's very, very, it's been an interesting sort of like a long-term study to see when people stay active and they stay engaged with each other. The research shows that people live longer and healthier and have better support systems. And we have seen that through the work that we do.
And how do you brand that to where you can go into other communities across the country and make people aware that this is something that we all need as we get older?
We're figuring that out. I think we're still learning. We every community is so different. Like I said, I worked in the nonprofit sector forever and ever and ever. And um, even when you're selling a nonprofit, and as many of you know, selling a business, you have to really look at what the communities are and what the communities need. When we first went out to Las Vegas, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. Everybody's going to want our lifelong learning programming. This is going to be fabulous. The thing that sells out there is fitness. It's just a different environment. People are active more, they're outside more, they're looking for a different aquafit. You know, we do a ton of aquafit out there. Um, Here in Austin, it looks a little bit different. And we just launched in Dallas, Fort Worth. That looks a little bit different. So things about getting to know your communities. Um, Obviously, if you're working one-on-one with an in-home client, that's about really assessing who they are. But we've also found senior living to be distinctly different. Each different one has got a different culture, and we are finding that there are certain companies in senior living that we actually fit better with. There are a couple companies that we just choose not to work with because they don't value activities and they don't treat their residents well and they don't make it a part of their investment in care. And so we've kind of figured out who those are that do, and we are pursuing them more at a corporate level to try and get multiples of their buildings instead of coming at them, you know, one at a time here in our area.
The one thing I've seen lately here in this area, in North Texas, is that there's so much demand for good senior living that they don't necessarily need to have something to compete against other places right now.
Yeah.
And it's a benefit and a drawback for you, I suppose, in that if you do land at the one place that does need that, you can separate your location from everybody else.
Yeah, completely. I mean, as we start this in-home rollout, you know, we're starting to partner with some home health agencies. Well, when we get to some sort of, you know, level of partners, people are going to say, well, why would I want to partner with you? Because everybody's got aging is cool programming now, right? So,
Right.
I mean, it is hard to differentiate yourself. I think the beauty is for us that, like we mentioned earlier, I'm not sure we have a direct competitor. There are little bits and pieces of things, but so we're able to differentiate ourselves by offering something people have never seen before. um, and then also our brand. I mean, you know, we talk about aging is cool, and we get this all the time. We've got the magnet on the car that says aging is cool, and you drive up to a stoplight, you either get the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Um, we know who our people are immediately. I mean, and I know who my staff are immediately when I'm interviewing. It's the people who are thumbs up, who are anti-ageist, who understand that aging is a gift, that we are better as we get older. When people understand that, they're our partners, and we know we very quickly can develop deep relationships with those individuals.
And I'm thinking about every time I'm on these calls, I always think about like everybody else does, how it relates to me. And and so and my folks lived in a community in Florida, and my father actually was the trivia champion of Florida, and had a little trophies and all that. But that was what kept him going. His because it kept his mind sharp, and I assume that's very much part of your brain games that you do is it's things that can trigger people to remember things back in either the youth or facts or
Mhm.
all those things that help us keep things like Alzheimer's and dementia perhaps somewhat at bay.
Completely. And we really try to incorporate it, a lot of the new research. You know, up until just recent years, we didn't realize you could create new brain cells your entire lifespan. And that's about doing things new and different all the time. And so being able to bring things that are new and different, you know, even our lifelong learning classes allow people an opportunity to get those brains spinning. We use a lot of the stuff on cross body movements. I'll show you one actually. I think I can you see my hands in the camera?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Everybody put your hands up like this. Sorry, I'm going to make you work for it. Okay. So if you move your hands up and down just like this, easy peasy, right? It's a pattern. Your brain knows patterns. Left and right. Easy. Your brain loves to do things the same all the time. All right. Ready? One up and down and one left and right. I see smiles. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen. It's hard. And then try the other one, right? So we use a lot of this kind of cross-body movement and games because when you're working both sides of your brain at the same time, it actually is developing new neural pathways. And so just simple games like that are done in our brain games that can be built into our fitness programming. Dance classes have been proven to do that same kind of thing. Boxing classes, we actually do little boxing classes. We have kung fu, we have seated kung fu. All of that stimulates brain health. And that, I think that's one of the things that people, a lot of older adults don't realize is that is such a crucial part. When I do classes on kind of active aging and what you should be focused on, it's physical health, your brain health, your socialization, which is good for both of those things, and having a sense of purpose. And if you can have those four things in your life, you're going to live longer, you're going to be more active, and it's just going to be a better ride for you.
If I mean, some of us are in the reverse mortgage business and other businesses or services in the senior marketplace. If we wanted to sponsor a class, is that something that would be an opportunity for us?
Yeah, 100%. If you're in one of our actual regions, we can do those for live, but we can always do virtual as well. So if you're in other areas of the country that we're not yet, we can certainly do those virtually for you. And so you tell me who you want to sell it to, and we'll do that for you. So
If I do it virtually, do I have to move my hands up and down and sideways?
you don't strike me as a hands up and down, Peter.
I am not.
To tell the truth, I'm not either. I always joke that my husband is the he's the fun one and I'm the business one. So I probably should have brought him today. He does it better than me.
So we'll save that for another
There you go. Yeah.
segment, sure. So again, there's so much to this because people are living longer, people are staying in their homes. The fact that you can do this one-on-one in a home. Is there any thought about having insurance pay for it? In terms of third party paying for it. Let's put it that way.
Ideally, yes. Again, have not explored that. It really has taken us the last 2 years just to rebuild what we lost, when the pandemic hit. We literally on March, what was it, 14th of whatever, 2019, whenever 2020, the phone rang and we lost over 150 classes a month in one day. Like it just was like constant. I mean, you've all been through this. I mean, this is just my
Sure.
sob story, right? So it's taken a while, for a long time, senior living didn't let you back in the building even when it was safe to do so. So it took a little bit for us to get going. So now we're starting to really start exploring that again. So yeah, I think insurance and third party, all of that makes a lot of sense. Medicare Advantage. I do think there's a long journey still in convincing people that these are health related and important. And it's so much more about prevention, right? Which healthcare isn't known for, is doing
Right.
those prevention pieces of it. So it may be a bit of a journey to get them there, but we're there for the ride when they're ready.
And thinking about this, I had at one point in my career, I had a little bit of history with silver sneakers.
Mhm.
Silver sneakers is probably the closest to this that I
Yes.
can.
Yeah.
And yet silver sneakers is mostly again embedded or had been embedded in Medicare Advantage plans, still is somewhat, um, but much more not the mental part of this, but the physical.
Physical.
You get a gym membership.
Yeah.
So in other words, I'm well enough that I'm getting in a vehicle. I'm probably driving, and then I'm going to a gym. This is different from that standpoint.
Completely. I mean, well, that's the thing is what are we going to do about the people who can't get in the car and go to the gym? How do we make things that are available to them so that they can live healthier? I mean, just because they're at home alone doesn't mean they have any less, need to be healthy and engaged and be able to get in and out of a tub by themselves. Why? But it's as per usual, right? It's cheaper to provide in a group setting, and so this one-on-one stuff is going to be hard for us. We try to partner with transportation companies. There's a transportation nonprofit here in town that's going to be offering rides to some of our upcoming free classes that we'll be doing through our grant program. But that's only going to get us 5 or 6 people when there are thousands upon thousands of people who are homebound who are missing out. And I think technology can solve some problems. I mean, I think virtual is good and it's fine. And we learned a lot about it during the pandemic, and I will never discount what that did for people and can do. But that one-on-one human touch is still really, really important. Really, really important.
And just about every meeting I've been to or listened to across the board, there's always been some segment about AI and what AI is going to do to my business and your business and the world and all that. But it seems like you're insulated for what you do, that you don't have to worry about it, at least in that there's no human touch.
Exactly, exactly. I think it's important. I will have to say though, we've been having a really good time with technology. I'll tell you about a couple things that we've been doing. So we about a couple of years ago actually bought some virtual reality headsets, and we have been taking them into senior living communities and letting people try VR. So they get to have a 10 or 15-minute experience. Maybe they're in the jungle with gorillas, they're swimming underwater, and we get these amazing, amazing reactions. But most of us, how many of you have a VR headset? Oh, Tara's got, okay, Courtney's going, okay. So for those of us that have them, they make a lot of sense. For people who don't have them, it's very confusing. But there is a virtual reality senior center called Thrive Pavilion. It is in, when you put on your headset, if you have a Meta headset, it's called Meta Horizon Worlds. And there is a senior center there. And my husband and I teach classes with our headset on in a virtual reality senior center. And it sounds weird and ludicrous and ridiculous. I can tell you that it is the most empowering thing I have ever seen for people who are homebound in many, many years. I run a support group on aging in this space. And every month I have about 20 seniors from all over the world who come in. Their little avatars come wandering into this virtual support group room. They sit their little avatars on their fake little couches in there, and we have deep discussions about aging, about life, about relationships. And these folks get together in virtual reality every single day. They travel to worlds, they play games together, they explore, they meet up for conversation. I have never seen relationships develop like this before. One woman said she's a double amputee, and she says, I can't walk in real life, but in virtual reality, I can fly. One woman in my group, she's in her 80s. Her husband passed away a little over a year ago, and she got a headset. She said she's found her first best friend in the last 40 years in VR. It's a really interesting tool, and they're starting to use it with veterans, and they're starting to use it in home for in-home care to give people an outlet when they can't leave their homes. And so I just wanted to tell you about it because I think it's really, really fascinating. And I'm excited because we're going to try and be taking headsets into people's private homes as well to teach them how to use it, hoping that they'll get their own, because it's such a neat way to explore the world if you're stuck, if you're bedbound or stuck at home. Is it expensive, Terry? No, actually, it's not terribly expensive. So you can buy a VR headset. I think the new ones run about 400. They're well worth it. You might even be able to get an older model for 300 or something like that. The new ones are more comfortable for seniors. But yeah, such a fun way for people who are trapped in their environments to actually get out.
We're fascinated by it, and we had, as Tara knows, we had in plenty on this call. No, we had a guest probably 2-3 months ago from a company called Red Endeavor,
Yes, yeah.
and we just kind of fell into it. It was just like fishing around one day, and found the company. Went to their site. They reached out to me or reached back to me, and we filled an hour with this gentleman. There are a lot of questions because a lot of it's new,
Yeah.
and the idea of my father sitting in his place in West Palm Beach, Florida, with a VR, headset on, was, at first was foreign to me, and would have been certainly way foreign to him. But as we were talking for this hour, you can, and again, it goes back to this loneliness idea, and exactly what you're talking about is that it solves or helps solve this enormous problem. And it's fascinating for the other things that they were doing. In other words, and again, I'm sure you know this, but the idea that they're going through a museum together
Yes.
and have an expert on there, showing them, what's important and how to interpret art and or traveling together in places, people who have never been any place, it's like seeing the world, just by sitting on their couch or in what you're talking about, a fake couch.
Yeah, it's a fake couch. The one that got me the other day that actually put me to tears was it's two sisters. They're in their 80s. They live in separate cities. They get on VR together and then they go explore all these, adventurous worlds in virtual reality. And they got on a train in VR, and on the train there was an umbrella, and the sister grabbed the umbrella and it opened and it blew her character off the umbrella or off the train, so she flew away, and she and her sister had to find each other again in this world. And she said when we got back together, she said we were laughing like little girls, like we hadn't laughed since we were 7 and 8 years old. And I thought, that's it. Yeah. It's like, this is the world, this is where we want to be.
and
So beautiful, beautiful
and,
moment.
and then there are some of us who have wished that for our
Yes,
sisters.
exactly.
So
I'd have been like, see ya.
yeah,
Have fun.
that's a it's a shame it's virtual.
Yeah, I know, I know. It was just cute though that they were getting to have that moment even in their 80s together as sisters. I mean, what a gift. What a gift.
It's really it's unbelievable. And
Yeah.
for what you do to incorporate it, it makes a lot of sense. And again, that's something that Silver Sneakers can't do. And so if you incorporate it as one part of what you do, to me, the world's your oyster, because I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this gentleman from Rendeavor said basically the same thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And once you overcome the cost of the unit itself, that's, there's a point of entry that's difficult for a lot of
Yes.
folks. But at the same time, if there were a library, if you walk into a library here in town, in the senior section of the library, and they had them there, it'd be or the senior center, certainly
Yep.
in town, that'd be a great thing to have, without
Remember
a doubt.
back in the day, you could check out a VCR at the library. So, some of you probably don't remember that, but you know,
Unfortunately, I do.
I do.
That's right. So, any questions from anybody, or any comments from folks that are on the call or on the webinar?
I would just say thank you for keeping the low-income people in mind. I work with 10 senior communities. All of them are, housing low-income seniors,
Oh,
and they
nice.
can't afford a lot of luxuries. And our communities aren't like assisted livings or anything. We're just independent apartment communities, but we just try to help our residents as well as we can. So it's always nice to hear that there are things like that out there. And if you're ever in Washington State, look me up.
I would love to. Yeah, that was something we were really committed to from the beginning, and we debated whether to actually make our organization a nonprofit, and decided that we'd worked nonprofits long enough, and we didn't have any retirement, so we needed to make it a business. But we did make sure that we set up that fund, and I think we've probably got close to 80,000 in it right now, so we should have multiple years worth of ability to really not turn anybody down. We're doing weekly classes for the Housing Authority, and at 4 different sites. And, it's, to me, it's really, really important. So thanks for what you do, because I know you work on very limited budgets in those locations. Yeah.
And how much of your time is spent grant writing?
I'm very blessed. I haven't done a lot. I have 2 really good grant partners here in Austin, because I come out of that sector and I have deep relationships with them. And so they were very, very kind to do some match funding this year. And then we've got 2 Aging is Cool members who made substantial donations in the last few years so that we could provide similar programming that they were getting for other people. So we've just been really blessed with that. Don't love grant writing. I'll do it when I have to.
Okay.
I come out of that background. I try not to do it if I can avoid it.
Sure. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Amy, if people wanted to get in touch with you separately from this, how would they do so?
My email is amy@agingiscool.com. Happy to talk with any of you. And I really do encourage you, if you go to our website, the free classes button at the top, we do, let's see, 1, 2, 3 fitness classes, 1 stretching class, and then we rotate between brain games and lifelong learning each week. Those are completely free. You can live stream them in a private home. You can live stream them in your affordable apartments. That is totally fine. We'd love to see you. Just say hey to the instructor and they'll be ready to go. If you go to the, also at the top, you'll see I think it says classes for groups, and that's where you can click and find our catalog that has over 100 classes. And again, we're in DFW, San Antonio, Houston, Austin, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and soon to be West Florida. So we're a little bit in some places. But if you are interested in, and you want to talk more, part of what has helped us expand this relationship, someone said, hey, I've got 3 buildings here. Would you like to service them? And we built a team. So, there may be opportunities to have those conversations.
And have you tried to get into the villages?
No, not yet. Not yet. Florida's going to be a big bear. I haven't even begun to, I mean, even the Phoenix market is massive. So it's going to take us a little while to tackle Florida. We may just start with the buildings we've been offered and leave it at that.
But, down the road, you could certainly see the advantage of being connected to somebody like a Del Webb, or
100%. Yeah.
build their community,
Yeah.
across the country, because again, it's getting more and more competitive, and you have something that most places don't offer.
Yeah.
From that standpoint, so it makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
In my mind, I'm wondering if any company in my business, and there are probably others on this call who are in the reverse mortgage business, whether it's a violation if I offer this for free. We can't offer anything of value for free.
Gotcha.
But if you're already offering it for free, I would think that would be okay. So Tara, close your ear.
Can't hear it.
Anything else from anybody? Any questions? Anything for Amy before we go?
Oh, this has been great. Thank you, Amy. And we have a chapter in Southwest Florida that we should connect you with.
Please do.
By Sue Haviland, who runs also a fall prevention called Step Smart, and they're always doing activities in the area. So I'd love to connect you with
That'd be
them.
great. Yeah, any relationships would be fabulous. We don't know anybody out there, so it'll be all new.
This is exciting. We have another member who's in our Long Island chapter, Dr. David Newman, and he's always saying exercise means different things to different people. So just being up and moving around and keeping your joints active and mobile is what's really important. So this is great.
Yep, definitely made me buy a treadmill this Christmas. I was like, I keep telling everybody to move their body. I should probably move mine.
Yeah, it's psychiatrists have the craziest kids, Amy.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
So again, I appreciate you joining us, and hopefully this will be on the YouTube channel for the NAIPC in short order, and so other folks will be able to see it as well. And as Tara knows, we get ratings on the YouTube channel that equal the Super Bowl or the last episode of MASH. So just.
That's awesome. Well, I will definitely spread the word as well. And thank you all for what you do. I know it's really hard work, and we just are always honored to be part of a larger network of great providers out there. I mean, there's just so much work to be done. And goodness knows we're behind the curve trying to catch up with the need. So let me know how I can be of help.
We will.
Right.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll talk soon. See you next time.
I just want to remind everybody of the events we have coming up. On Thursday is our national member meeting. Our guest speaker is the Loose Ends Project. I don't know if any of you have heard of them or heard me speak about them, but they are 22,000 volunteer crafters around the world who finish people's projects when they pass away or when their diagnosis progresses to a part where they can't do the craft anymore. So these folks have teamed up with Joanne's, who gives them discounted or free crafts to finish for your loved ones, and they send them back to the family. So that's our guest speaker. Our spotlight speaker is from Close the Gap Foundation. which is a nonprofit that installs grab bars for free into seniors' homes. So they're looking to share about that program, but also they're creating a list of installers because they need help installing these grab bars. And Lowe's Livable Home program, they've partnered with them, and Lowe's pays for this. So it's going to be a really interesting meeting. If you'd like to go, send me an email. I'm happy to register you. And then the following Monday, we have our advocacy committee meeting, which we've really been making really great strides in. Not only our federal legislation that we're promoting, but our state specific legislation. So if that's of interest to you, let me know and I'll make sure you all get registered. And thanks, Peter, for another great addition to the Hidden Gems. And thank you, Amy, for being our guest. And hopefully we'll see you all very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.